Welcome back to Combust Astrology. My name's Liv, and I'm going to be going over the transitory cycle of Saturn entering Aries. Before I get into that, I kind of want to just make some quick channel updates. So I do want to apologize for the lack of content. I have been going through some things, and it's taken up a little bit of my time and focus while I make sense of Neptune and Aries for my own self. And I kind of want to change the style of how I upload things. I am going to be on every platform that I post on. I kind of cover a different viewpoint of astrology. On TikTok, I try to post kind of just funny short clips of how I feel about every sign. That's at Combust Astrology with no Y because my name's too long. On Instagram, I try to keep up a current, up-to-date, small tidbit. I use AI with it because, it makes it quicker for me. But I also do put my own point of view of what's going on. And then I also put my teachings that I do in person. I teach astrology, and this combination of what I do is really awesome for me. But when it came to YouTube, I've been constantly thinking about, well, should I put my face on here? Should I not? Like, how should I do this? And I'm someone that does not dwell. I will constantly change and move. And, as we go, we go. So I've decided, for now at least, I'm going to go back to these faceless videos that really lets me pump out a lot of content while being in my pajamas with my bonnet on, very comfortable, because I'm very weary of trying to be professional for YouTube. So I will still continue the series that I'm doing with Venus, of course, in person, and like just my face, my whole self, really, and record those as I travel again. But for now, for these, I think I'm just going to try and get them out. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So we're here to talk about Saturn and Aries. And I've actually spent a lot of time studying for something I'm about to teach. Whereas normally I've studied astrology for years, but as of late, it just comes to me. And I genuinely mean it really just comes to me. Like, I don't think too much about what is coming out of my mouth when I say the transit, because it just seems like I'm one with astrology at times. And so I don't really try to make sense of that. But right now I'm like, let's give it a try. So I did study as much as I could about Saturn entering Aries. And I watch other people's point of view on it. I have my own personal point of view. I've learned a lot about Saturn. And so I'd like to start off with the background of Saturn and what exactly it's known for. So a little bit about the uprising. So Uranus and Saturn are two important parts of the story. And I'm actually going to try and narrate this as much as I can by removing the things that aren't necessary here. Uranus and Saturn are children, along with Neptune and Pluto and the others. So essentially, Gaia, or Earth, is the woman that has been giving birth to all the planets. And when we take a look at Saturn was the first child that was able to break out of the enslavement of, I'm going to call them the uglies. I may or may not have spelled that wrong. There's a Netflix TV series actually about something like that, but Saturn is important because it was the first child of rebellion, ironically. And Uranus is important because Uranus is father. It is the creator, or Oranos. Gaia is the mother of Earth. And honestly, they were just getting freaky all the time and making, you know, children, quote unquote, but really just like monsters on planet Earth. And at some point in time, we got into creating children that weren't necessarily liked, right? So they were called Titans, for lack of better TLDR. And so one of the uglies were Saturn. Saturn was not a child that was really seen as attractive. And Gaia didn't want to keep losing kids because Uranus would just take in a child, see it, and then like want to kill it or eat it, if I remember correctly. And here we are with all these kids that are either being eaten or killed or sent to the underworld. And so Saturn came in as the first child that was used as a way to essentially stop this. Saturn helped plan an uprising that came after the phallus of Uranus and basically chopped it off. Really crazy lore. If you look into Greek mythology, a lot of it really is interesting. Like, there's like this TV show called Kinapolis, I think it is, on Netflix. Also amazing. I love history, so this was something that really got to me. All right, so back to the main point of the story. So after the chopping, the I'm not gonna draw it, but the thing went into like the ocean, and that kind of gave us Aphrodite. And if you know anything about Aphrodite, you'd know vanity to be one of the main things, and as you can assume, that would come from the deification of a phallus, actually. So here we are. Saturn basically, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and Saturn basically becomes like his dad. And that's where we know we get Jupiter, because Jupiter was one of the kids, and Gaia once again was like, all right, we're gonna cover Jupiter in a rock. Gaia's really been through some shit. That is a single mom. So anyway, Jupiter is the antithesis of Saturn because Saturn is long term. It is putting in the time, and Jupiter's like, nope, we ain't gotta wait. Let's just do it now. And so that's where you get the difference between Capricorn and Sagittarius. Really, I can work for 90 years, or I can just have it now. So, with that, I wanted to give you a quick background because Saturn in itself is supposed to break you free from something. It's not actually supposed to be painful. We just make it painful as humans because, truth be told, when I say human beings are air signs, no human wants to spend time trying to get better or put in the work. We'd all really would rather just flock from one thing to another and just have it work. We get an idea and we go and try to make it pretty and create it, and then we make it actually resourceful to us, and then we start over. We don't want to have to do the in-between of feeling, trying to make it better, making it efficient, yada, 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 right? So now, that brief crash course on Saturn can kind of give you the point of view when I say this, that Aries isn't really like that at all. Aries would rather not work for that, and it would rather do something that actually is easy for it to understand. So here we are. Saturn is actually not a fan of being in Aries because Aries is the go-getter, but it doesn't have patience. It doesn't really want to sit down. It doesn't really want to stay and think things through. It really wants to just go. And so here we have Saturn essentially not really happy because you have someone that is like, let's take the long-term road to success, Saturn. And then you got Aries that's like, now. It's almost Jupiter in a way. But the two of them are going to kind of have a little bit of a quarrel. Because Saturn in Aries is, you are going to be trying to go 100, but you're going to go probably 40 or 50. You're probably going to be going the speed limit. And so a good way for me to really look at Saturn in Aries is just by saying Saturn in Aries is like having a Ferrari and then driving mostly through school zones. Because it doesn't matter how fast your car is, you can't do 20 in a school. You can't do more than 20 in a school zone, right? Unless you just hate kids or you just never mind. You cannot use those children as bowling pins with your Ferrari, which means you have to slow down. Which means even though that car could do 100 plus miles per hour, you still can only do 20. But you can do that 20 every day. You can come through every single day. And that's really the essence of this transit. So in of itself, you have that restriction, you have that change, you have that letting go. So now, how is it that it applies to you? Well, let's take a look at that now. Let us go to the exact ingress, and it should be now, right here. Oh, maybe I'm a little early. Oh, I am early. Oh, 25th. 5/25, 2025, 00:34 a.m. All right, so Saturn enters Aries on the 25th of May at 12:34 a.m. Dun, dun, dun. And while we think about Saturn entering Aries here, let's look at what is going on around. Just a quick, brief view. So we have Pluto in Aquarius. We have Neptune also in Aries. And then we're going to have Uranus in Taurus. And then Jupiter in Gemini. So we got 2 air signs, 1 earth sign, and 2 fire signs in the bigger parts of the chart. There's no water. There's no emotional grounding here. There is, honestly, Dust Bowl conditions. There's a lot of air. It's hot, and there's flying debris everywhere. Because Uranus and Taurus might as well be an air sign at this point, with the way that it's like, yeah, we're just going to destroy anything that you think was stable, and it's no longer that. And it's done a number on all of us, quite frankly. But my biggest takeaway right now is, as this is happening and we're looking at what's currently here, we have the big power play kind of sitting back. And then we have a new jockey coming in, fresh. We have this one right here deciding what is it going to be, but it knows that it wants to be something. And then we got this old head ready to leave because it's like, all right, I've done my job. I feel like you guys are rattled enough. And then we have old 16-year-old crackhead over there, just restless. So all these elements together, in my opinion, is the perfect recipe for absolute change. And it's not one that has to be so chaotic as it seems on the astrological paper, but it's more or less a internalized self-refinement. Because Pluto isn't direct as Neptune is there and Uranus is not there yet, I feel as though it's like, get the burning passion that's inside you awake and active. And then as we move towards getting better and better with yourself, how is it that will keep going over the next course of the 2.5 years? So that is a pretty good gist of the intro to this transit. Hopefully that covers everything for you. I'm actually going to spend the time and now cover each sign